The night sky shimmered unnaturally, painted in hues of electric blue and violet as streaks of light danced across the atmosphere. What appeared at first to be a meteor shower turned into an unprecedented celestial event, sparking curiosity, awe, and just a hint of unease. In the quiet farming town of Havenbrook, nestled between sprawling fields and thick forests, the townsfolk gathered at the town square, necks craned upward, murmuring in amazement. Among the crowd stood Dr. Eleanor Ellie Haynes, a disillusioned astrophysicist turned high school science teacher. At her side was Jack Marlowe, the town's grizzled handyman and a former Marine whose rough exterior hid a sharp tactical mind. Completing the unlikely trio was Nina Callahan, a brash teenager with an insatiable curiosity and a knack for hacking. They weren't heroes, just ordinary people swept up in the extraordinary. Ellie adjusted her glasses, her brow furrowing as she recorded the sky's phenomena on her phone. This isn't right. Those aren't meteors. The trajectories are too controlled. Jack spat his toothpick onto the ground, arms crossed. So, what are we looking at? UFOs? Government experiments? Alien fireworks show? Nina, eyes glued to her laptop's screen, muttered, I hacked into the weather satellite feeds. You're going to want to see this. She swiveled the screen toward Ellie and Jack, displaying heat signatures clustering just outside Earth's orbit. A deep chill settled over them as realization dawned. The first craft appeared within hours. Sleek and organic, it hovered ominously over major cities across the globe, dwarfing skyscrapers and throwing entire metropolises into shadow. Havenbrook, with its small-town charm, seemed a world away from the chaos, but that illusion shattered when the crafts began releasing enormous drones, metallic, insect-like machines that descended like a swarm, tearing into Earth's surface with precision. The townsfolk gathered in the church, their whispers growing frantic. Jack slammed the doors shut, turning to face the crowd. Quiet down, all of you. Panicking won't solve anything. His commanding voice silenced the room. Ellie raised her hand to speak. This isn't a random attack. This is resource harvesting. They're terraforming, stripping Earth of its natural resources. We've got to get organized if we're going to survive. But why here? Asked Reverend Shaw, his voice trembling. What does Havenbrook have that they want? Strategic positioning, Nina chimed in. The drones are setting up power relays. Havenbrook sits on a geothermal hotspot. The gravity of their situation began to sink in. Humanity wasn't just under attack, it was being systematically eradicated. The stakes couldn't be higher. The first real test came at dawn. A low, guttural hum echoed through the valley as a massive drone approached Havenbrook. It stood 10 feet tall, its metallic exoskeleton glinting in the morning sun. Two luminous eyes scanned the town, and a beam of light shot out, marking its targets. Jack took immediate action, rallying the townsfolk. Get inside. Barricade the doors and windows. He grabbed a shotgun from his truck, but Ellie grabbed his arm. That won't work. These things are made of an alloy we've never seen before. Got a better idea, Doc? Jack growled. Ellie hesitated, then nodded. Electricity. We overloaded circuits. The plan was cobbled together hastily. Nina hacked into the town's electrical grid, rerouting power to an old transformer near the edge of town. Meanwhile, Jack and Ellie lured the drone toward the trap. The hulking machine moved with calculated precision, its limbs slicing through obstacles like paper. As they reached the transformer, Ellie shouted, Now, Nina! The town's lights flickered as a surge of electricity arced toward the drone. Sparks flew, and the machine convulsed violently before collapsing in a heap of smoldering metal. The townsfolk cheered, but Ellie remained grim. That was just one. More will come. In the days that followed, Havenbrook became a makeshift fortress. Nina worked tirelessly to decode intercepted signals from the alien crafts, piecing together fragments of their language and intentions. Jack trained volunteers in guerrilla tactics, turning hunters and farmers into a ragtag militia. Ellie, meanwhile, scoured scientific journals and data, searching for a way to fight back. Tensions ran high as the town grappled with its new reality. Families debated whether to stay and fight or flee into the unknown. Supplies dwindled, and morale wavered. During one particularly heated meeting, Reverend Shaw stood and declared, "We have to have faith. God will protect us." Ellie, exhausted and on edge, snapped. "Faith isn't going to stop them from annihilating us. Science might." Jack stepped between them, his voice low and steady. "Enough. If we're going to survive, we need to stick together." The tenuous peace held, but the pressure mounted. Then came the signal, a strange, rhythmic pattern buried in the static of the alien transmissions. Nina decoded it, her face pale as she relayed the message. "They're sending reinforcements. A mothership." The announcement sent shockwaves through the town. Ellie devised a desperate plan: disable the relay the aliens had built on Havenbrook's geothermal hotspot. Without it, the mothership couldn't dock, buying Earth precious time. Jack frowned at the schematic Nina displayed on her laptop. "That thing's a fortress." Ellie nodded grimly. "That's why we're going to need every ounce of courage, and a little bit of luck." As they prepared for the mission, Ellie couldn't shake the weight of responsibility. She looked out over the town, its people busy building barricades and arming themselves. They weren't soldiers. They were teachers, mechanics, and farmers. But they were all that stood between Earth and annihilation. "You ready for this?" Jack asked, stepping beside her. "No," Ellie admitted. "But that's never stopped me before." Jack chuckled. "Good answer." As the team set out toward the alien relay, the air buzzed with tension. They knew the odds were against them. But for humanity, and for Havenbrook, they would fight. The air was thick with tension as Havenbrook woke to its grim reality. The eerie hum of alien drones had become an unwelcome morning chorus, a constant reminder that their peaceful lives were now a battleground. The townsfolk moved with a sense of urgency, reinforcing barricades and preparing supplies. The sense of unity that had held them together was beginning to fray under the pressure. Ellie, Jack, and Nina met in what had once been Havenbrook's library but now served as their makeshift command center. Maps of the town were pinned to the walls, marked with red circles indicating alien activity. Nina was furiously typing away on her laptop, the glow from the screen illuminating her furrowed brow. "I've been analyzing the drone's communication patterns," Nina began. "They're linked to a central relay station. If we take that out, we can cut off their coordination in this area." Ellie nodded, pushing her glasses up her nose. "That would buy us time to figure out their larger plan. But dismantling their relay won't be easy. It's heavily guarded." Jack leaned back in his chair, the wood creaking under his weight. "So, what's the plan? Walk up and ask nicely?" Ellie shot him a look. "We need a diversion." Jack grinned. "Now you're talking my language." The first attempt to sabotage the alien relay was chaotic. Jack led a small group of volunteers to the outskirts of town, where the alien drones had begun constructing a spire-like structure on the geothermal hotspot. The structure pulsed with an otherworldly light, emitting waves of heat that distorted the air around it. As Jack's group approached, Ellie and Nina monitored their progress from the command center. "Remember," Ellie said over the walkie-talkie, "the goal is to draw their attention, not to engage." "Copy that," Jack replied. He turned to his team, a ragtag mix of farmers and hunters armed with everything from hunting rifles to homemade explosives. "Stick to the plan. No heroics." The diversion worked, at first. Jack's team set off a series of controlled explosions near the spire, drawing the drones away from the structure. But as they began their retreat, a second wave of drones appeared, cutting off their escape route. "Jack, you've got company," Ellie's voice crackled over the radio. "No kidding," Jack muttered. "Nina, any chance you can hack into these things and give us a hand?" "I'm trying," Nina replied, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "But their encryption is insane. I need more time." "Time is one thing we don't have," Jack said, firing at an advancing drone. The bullets ricocheted harmlessly off its metallic surface. Ellie gritted her teeth. We need to act fast. Nina, can you overload their power grid? I can try, Nina said, her voice tinged with doubt. But it's risky. It could backfire. Do it, Ellie said. It's our only chance. Nina hesitated for a moment before initiating the override. The drones froze mid-attack, their limbs twitching erratically before collapsing to the ground. Nice work, kid, Jack said, exhaling a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Don't thank me yet, Nina replied. That was just a temporary fix. They'll adapt. Back at the command center, tensions were running high. The townsfolk were growing restless, their faith in the trio's leadership waning. Reverend Shaw, who had become an unofficial spokesperson for the group, confronted Ellie. We can't keep living like this, he said. People are scared. They need hope. Ellie sighed, rubbing her temples. Hope won't stop them from wiping us out. Maybe not, Shaw said, but it might keep us from tearing each other apart. Ellie knew he was right. The strain was getting to everyone, including herself. She looked at Jack and Nina, who were equally exhausted. We need a win, she said. Something to show them that we're not just surviving, we're fighting back. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Nina intercepted a transmission indicating that a supply ship was scheduled to land near Havenbrook. It was carrying equipment for the alien relay, equipment that could be used to build a makeshift EMP. This is our chance, Ellie said, her eyes lighting up with determination. If we can take that ship, we can cripple their operations. Jack nodded. I'll round up a team. No, Ellie said firmly. This isn't a job for amateurs. It's too dangerous. We go in alone. Jack raised an eyebrow. You're getting bossy, document. Ellie smirked. About time, don't you think? The raid on the supply ship was a high-stakes operation. The trio approached under the cover of darkness, their movements swift and silent. The ship was guarded by a handful of drones, their glowing eyes scanning the area for intruders. Nina stayed back, using her laptop to disable the drone sensors while Ellie and Jack moved in. Jack dispatched the remaining guards with a combination of brute force and tactical precision, while Ellie hacked into the ship's control panel to access its cargo. We've got it, Ellie whispered into her earpiece. Let's move. As they loaded the equipment onto a makeshift cart, the ship's alarm system activated. The sound was deafening, and within moments, reinforcements were on their way. Run! Jack shouted. The trio sprinted toward the safety of the woods, the sound of approaching drones growing louder with each passing second. Just as they reached the tree line, Nina activated a cloaking device she had cobbled together from the stolen equipment. The drones flew overhead, their sensors unable to detect the trio's presence. That was too close, Ellie said, collapsing against a tree. Close is better than dead, Jack replied, a grin spreading across his face. The successful raid was a turning point for Havenbrook. The stolen equipment allowed Ellie to construct a crude EMP device, which they used to disable the alien relay. The victory boosted morale, but Ellie knew it was only a temporary reprieve. They'll come back stronger, she said to Jack as they surveyed the smoldering remains of the relay. We need to be ready. Jack nodded, his expression grim. We will be. As the sun set over Havenbrook, the townsfolk gathered in the town square to celebrate their victory. For the first time in weeks, there was laughter and music. But Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The alien mothership was still out there, and it was only a matter of time before it made its move. The horizon glowed an ominous crimson as the alien mothership descended, casting an unnatural shadow over Havenbrook. Its sheer size was overwhelming, a city-sized monolith bristling with weapons and glowing glyphs. The hum of its engines reverberated through the air, a haunting sound that sent chills down the spines of everyone in the town. Ellie stood on the town's highest ridge, her jaw clenched as she studied the incoming threat through binoculars. Jack joined her, carrying a heavy backpack filled with explosives and makeshift weapons. Any brilliant ideas, Doc? He asked, his voice tinged with grim humor. Ellie didn't reply immediately. Her mind raced with calculations, trying to piece together a plan that wouldn't get them all killed. We need to strike before they can deploy their forces. That ship is their nerve center. If we can disable it, we can throw their entire operation into chaos. Jack raised an eyebrow. And how do you propose we do that? Knock and asked politely. We use the EMP, Ellie said, pointing to the device they had scavenged from the alien relay. But we'll need to get it close enough to the ship to disrupt its systems. Close enough, huh? Jack muttered. That sounds like a suicide mission. Ellie turned to face him, her eyes blazing with determination. It's the only chance we have. Are you in or not? Jack smirked, adjusting the straps on his backpack. You had me at suicide mission. Meanwhile, Nina was hard at work in the command center, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she hacked into the mothership systems. Her makeshift setup was a tangle of wires and screens, powered by a generator that hummed loudly in the background. I've managed to access their schematics, she said over the radio. The mothership's power core is located at the center, heavily shielded. If you can get the EMP there, it should overload their systems. Ellie's voice crackled through the speaker. Good work, Nina. Keep monitoring their movements and guide us in. Be careful, Nina replied, her voice uncharacteristically soft. This isn't a game. Ellie, Jack, and a small team of volunteers set out under the cover of darkness, making their way toward the alien mothership. The terrain was treacherous, the ground scorched and littered with debris from earlier skirmishes. Alien drones patrolled the area, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Jack took point, using hand signals to guide the group. They moved silently, their breaths shallow and their hearts pounding. The mothership loomed larger with each step, its surface a maze of pulsating glyphs and alien machinery. They reached the base of the ship without incident, but their luck didn't hold. As Ellie prepared to set up the EMP, a loud screech pierced the air. The ground trembled as a massive alien construct, a biomechanical war machine resembling a hybrid of an insect and a tank, emerged from the ship's underside. Looks like they rolled out the welcome wagon, Jack said, pulling out a makeshift grenade. Keep it busy! Ellie shouted. I need time to activate the EMP. Jack and the others opened fire, their weapons a mix of human ingenuity and alien tech scavenged from previous encounters. The war machine retaliated with devastating energy blasts, forcing the group to scatter. Ellie worked frantically, her hands shaking as she connected the EMP's components. Sweat dripped down her face, and her heart raced as the sounds of battle raged around her. Hurry up, Doc! Jack shouted, narrowly dodging a blast that left a smoking crater where he had been standing moments earlier. I'm almost there. Ellie replied, her voice trembling with urgency. Nina's voice came through the radio. Ellie, you've got incoming. A second wave of drones is headed your way. Great, Ellie muttered under her breath. Just what we needed. Jack threw his last grenade, the explosion briefly staggering the war machine. We're running out of options here. Ellie took a deep breath, steadying her hands. It's ready. Cover me while I set the timer. Jack and the others formed a defensive perimeter, using every weapon at their disposal to hold off the advancing drones and the war machine. Ellie darted forward, dodging debris and energy blasts as she secured the EMP to the ship's base. It's done, she shouted, sprinting back toward the group. We got 2 minutes before it goes off. Then let's move! Jack yelled. The group retreated as fast as they could, the mothership's defenses growing more aggressive with each passing second. The ground shook violently, and the air crackled with energy as the EMP activated. A blinding flash of light erupted from the mothership, followed by a deafening roar as its systems overloaded. The war machine collapsed in a heap of sparking metal, and the drones froze midair before plummeting to the ground. The mothership itself began to falter, its glowing glyphs dimming and its engines sputtering. Ellie, Jack, and the others watched from a safe distance as the massive structure listed to one side, crashing into the ground with an earth-shaking impact. For a moment, there was silence. Then, cheers erupted from the group. Against all odds, they had struck a decisive blow against the alien invaders. Back at the command center, Nina monitored the fallout from the mothership's destruction. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with disbelief and relief. "The drones are shutting down all over the region." Ellie collapsed into a chair, exhaustion overtaking her. "It's not over yet," she said. "This was just one ship. There will be more." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll deal with them, one at a time. We've got something they don't." Ellie looked up at him, her expression weary but resolute. "What's that?" Jack grinned. "Hope." As the sun rose over Havenbrook, casting its golden light over the battered town, the survivors began to rebuild. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Still, for the first time in weeks, they dared to believe that victory was possible.